Yeah, joined the Special Boat Service, which is the better version of the SAS. You can definitely put that on the advert.
Right.
They don't want people to see
To
them.
know that you're a bodyguard.
Or to even know that they're an ultra high net worth in the restaurant. Lots of people want to be under the radar. They literally don't work. They go to work at any Australian's going to hate me for saying that. I'm joking.
Welcome to the Restorative Force podcast, where we believe that it should feel good to be human. Modern life is fast-paced and often unforgiving. It stresses our minds, bodies, and the planet more than it needs to. So through conversations and ideas, our aim is to uncover the roadmap for shifting unsustainable cultures at pace for both personal and planetary well-being. So take a deep breath and join me, Hannah Phang, as we explore the path towards restoration and regeneration for ourselves and the world around us. Welcome to the Restorative Force podcast. My name's Hannah Phang. I'm very excited to be here with Joe Bates today and to dive into Halen Strength and his journey to creating it. So after the loss of his father at age 17, Joe channeled his resilience into joining the Royal Marines, quickly rising to prominence and earning many medals and a spot on the Sniper's Course. Very impressive. His military career saw him deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan with notable operations, including the rescue of a New York Times reporter. And after the military, Joe transitioned from bodyguarding an ultra-high net worth American before retraining and going into trading equities for Citibank in London. However, after a bout of a burnout, he saw another change, which led him into a global branding role, moving to cities like Hong Kong and Sydney. However, then recognizing a need in the mental health space, Joe then returned to the UK, founded Halen, and is looking to bring a fresh approach to mental well-being. So Joe, thank you very much for being here with me today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
It's a lovely intro. All complete falsities, by the way, but it's very nice.
Well, let's dive into it. What made you want to dive into, joining the Royal Marines in the first place?
So, I grew up in a really beautiful family in Devon. Lovely. I'm the youngest of three. My father worked in the arts funding for the government, and my mum was a psychologist, so she kind of ran educational psychology in the UK. And my dad got really poorly, so he developed something called Pick's disease, which is the most severe form of Alzheimer's. So very quickly, he didn't know who we were as his kids, and it was just pretty brutal. I was at home when he was really, really poorly. My older brothers and sister were at university. And he died. He passed away when I was 17. And I didn't know what to do, right? I didn't know what to do in general. I was kind of gliding through school anyway, right? Like bare minimum, like that kind of kid that could get away with murder. I was that person. But I didn't know what to do and kind of did my A-levels, but just went, I need to get away from everything. I just wanted to just not have to think. That was it. I didn't grow up in a military family. I didn't know anything about the military. I had this idea of trying to become Maverick from Top Gun, and literally I think I applied to go be a fast jet pilot, and they looked straight away at my maths scores, and they were like, no,
absolutely not.
Maverick's actually pretty good at maths, by the way. It turns out you need to be pretty bloody good. So I went, let's go and do something that's really hard. And I think the guy that I was talking to in the careers office was a Royal Marine. So he was like, come and join the Royal Marines. I was like, okay, that was it. Can you do 20 pull-ups? Okay, let's do it.
Wow.
So trained really hard and joined the Marines and went through basic training there, which is amazingly brutal. The stuff they get you to do is just hilarious.
What kind of stuff?
I mean, the hammerings you get and the lessons you get, the things that it's all about is you're only strong as your weakest man, right? So if one person messes up, you all get hammered for it, right? And there's 30 of you. And trust me, when actually it's probably 60 of you, you mess up hourly, people are messing up, right? The uniform isn't right, wrong place at the wrong time, can't do something. Weapon drills go wrong, and you're basically constantly getting bollocked and ragged. When I say ragged, sprint up and down that hill a million times. But they'll do things there are iconic, we call them beastings in the military. If you beast someone, it means that you hammer them through exercise. Okay? So you exhaust them. It's called a beasting. Not like a bee sting, like a wasp sting, like a beast.
Yes, okay, got it.
People are like, why is it a bee sting? And they would come into your room at 9 in the morning and go, right, we want and it's on the estuary, right, where the Marines is based, where the training is. It's on a big river.
Yeah.
And when the river goes out, it's just a muddy, thick estuary. And one of the things they used to get you to do is they would come in and go, right, I want this whole room in the middle of that estuary, exactly like it is in this room, your beds, your wardrobes, everything in that estuary, which is probably about 2 kilometers away, and you have 1 hour, go. Literally. Gosh. So you're like carrying wardrobes and beds, and by the way, they're like, it better fucking be clean when it gets there. And it's like a muddy, it's up to your knees, right, in mud. So you lay your whole like room out. It's like hilarious, this shit, by the way. Like in retrospect, watching it, and we should actually go and watch this happen. It's like a spectator sport. I cannot tell you the carnage and running around, you covered in mud, and then you stand in the middle of this estuary, like by all your kit, and they'll say, right, you have 3 hours to get everything back in and completely crystal clean.
Yeah,
go. And it's like Benny Hill music. You're just running around, right? But anyway, so
it's
like
a very creative task.
It's a very creative task. Exactly. I'm actually bringing that back into my business.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the Halen guys to empty the office. But so went through that, and I actually, I didn't find it. It's not easy. That's not what I mean. But it's exactly what I needed because of Dad's death. I really enjoyed. I did kind of, in a kind of masochistic way, enjoy the bee stings, like enjoy getting hammered, enjoy being wet and cold, because, it's, we know this from some of the stuff we're going to talk about, but some ways hardship is a very, very amazingly powerful way to connect with yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can't think about anything else, can you? When you're running through mud with a wardrobe on your head, it's not like you can have time to think about feeling low or anxious. You
have to be unbelievably present.
Yeah.
There's no other
There's no
option.
excuse.
Yeah.
There's no excuse, which is why like cold water therapy is so interesting, like, because it's the quickest hack to connect you with yourself. So past training, and I got like something called the King's Badge, which is like the top recruit.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Tried hard. I don't know how I did it. I didn't deserve it. And went straight to 40 Commando, and they were going straight to Iraq because I wanted to go and serve straight away. Did a rifle course, did pretty well. They were like, you can shoot quite straight. You seem good. We'll load you on the snipers course. So I went and did that, and then deployed to Iraq as a sniper.
Wow.
Yeah, which was and operated mainly Basra, less in Baghdad, more Basra. And it was wicked. Yeah, I mean, it feels like it was years ago, right? I was like 18.
Yeah.
But it really feels like years and years ago. And I look back to how young I was and what I was doing.
A whole other lifetime.
Whole other lifetime, yeah, because of what I've done since. So did that, came back from that. And again, because I was on this like mission of just keep pushing myself, keep going, I put my name down for Special Forces selection. And I never forget, like my sergeant major was like, you're too young, what are you doing, you're gonna fail it, yada yada. And I was like, fuck you, I'm gonna fucking pass it, right, I'll show you.
And you were 18 at this time?
I was 19 when I went on selection. Yeah.
Wow.
And SF selection's pretty brutal, right? Like if you look at the numbers,
I would imagine so, and also kind of hope so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to like going to bed early with like sleep masks and stuff, right? But again, it's just like tried and tested way of testing people in terms of mental strength. Like it's all mental strength, right? Like me and you know that. I say this to people all the time. The people that are getting into fitness, and I'm like, you do know that I could run a marathon with you like now? And they're like, no way. I'm like, no, we physically could do it. If you wore really comfy trainers, we could jog a marathon together and walk and talk and jog. And people go, no. I'm like, you could. Like,
yeah, it would take you some time.
Yeah.
But you could do it.
So the whole thing about selection is, the powerful bit about it is you can't quit the military. When you sign up for the military, of course, people can't be on the battlefield and go, that's me, I'm done. Right, I'm going home.
I've had enough.
I've had enough. That's me for the day. I'm clocking off. It doesn't work like that. But SF selection, at any point, you can put your hand up and say, I'm out of here, I'm done. And they're actually pretty nice. You're like, okay, no worries, off you go, don't worry.
Why is that?
Because they want, because it's the ethos, I suppose, that they want to see how much you want it. And when you start a course, and then on selections, probably, I don't know, 300 people start, and you get 5 people through it at the end. And the process is created for mass culling at the start. So the first 4 weeks gets rid of hundreds almost. And then the jungle phase takes it from 30 down to like 12. And then you go for the interrogation phase. And so just, it's lumpy.
It's the stuff you see in movies.
It is, yeah. It's the stuff you see. I mean, I love getting waterboarded. I just love it. No, I'm joking. I'm fucking joking. But yeah, I'm super proud of it. The guys that I operate with. And also the selection process works. Genuinely works, because everyone that I've ever operated with in SF, like, super skillful, super talented. I'm not saying I am, by the way, but super skillful, super talented, like genuinely intelligent operators, right? And also they would literally take a bullet for you,
right?
Like they would jump on a grenade for each other, and that's a powerful thing. Yeah, that's a super powerful thing. So yeah, joined the Special Boat Service, which is the better version of the SAS. You can definitely put that on the advert. Who Dares Swims, and did 2 tours of Afghan. So back-to-back Afghan tours, which was amazing, and again crazy, flying over the Himalayas at like 21 with like a beard down here, looking like some kind of DC rock star. I was thinking I was that vibe, right?
That's fair.
It's fair.
Yeah.
And we would wear like mixed camouflage, and people were like, these guys, and we're like, the SF Brits are here, and it's all like
the hardcore guys.
You felt gnarly.
You
felt gnarly, and it's kind of cool. It's like playing for a Premiership football team. You get that feeling when you're operating there. But I got to about, I don't know, I did 2 tours, and I kind of got to the point when I was like, I've got a long way to go if I'm going to stay in the military. I've got like 16, 17 years of this, and I was like, fucking hell. I mean, I've been so close. I mean, I've been blown up once pretty badly, lost lots of my hearing. I've been like, so many of my friends have been injured, right? Like life-altering injury and death. Yeah. And I was just like, I've got more to do. I want to go and see stuff, right? So, handed my notice in and left. And I kind of look back, and I don't regret it, but I do. Lots of the guys stayed in and pushed through, and regret's the wrong word, but I do kind of wonder how my life would have gone, a sliding doors-esque thing.
Totally.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't be sat here right now, would I? Of course, right? Who knows, maybe. So I left, and as you said in your intro, we're quite employable sort of SF guys to go into the bodyguarding market, mainly the kind of discreet style stuff. So less of your Simon Cowell, who just hires massive bodyguards to look like he's got, it's that kind of vibe, which I suppose works. Sometimes if Shaq O'Neal is like, this, if you have a bodyguard that says Shaq, no one's going to really come near you. But lots of more ultra high net worths, they want it to be more discreet.
Right.
They don't want people to see
to
them,
know that you're a bodyguard,
or to even know that they're an ultra high net worth in the restaurant. Lots of people want to be under the radar.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, it kind of makes me laugh when they're on like a £300 million super yacht, and they're like, you're trying to bodyguard discreetly. It's like quite obvious.
Yeah.
It's quite obvious.
It's literally sticking out.
Literally, it's like the size of the sun on the ocean. So I did that and loved it, and it was like, again, going from gnarly stuff in SF to suddenly flying around on Learjets and seeing that world. I was just really interested in it.
What was that like, the dichotomy of it, or they feel almost like polar opposite,
just weird
life experiences?
Yeah, totally. And it's just so weird. I mean, when you get to that level of wealth, it's just bonkers, isn't it? The stuff they have, the entourage when they travel, like they travel with their own doctor, physician, kids doctor, masseuse.
Right.
I mean, he was very Jewish, and he had like rabbis with him as well. He'd fly people out to
just a full little village,
of all the
essentials.
Probably entourage of like 30 people with his family of 5. And I never forget, I'm not going to mention who it was, but I'll tell you a story. I was carrying the daughters from the tender, the boat. We were, I can't remember where we were, somewhere very hot and nice. And I was carrying them off the tender to the beach because they didn't want to get their feet wet, which I don't mind. It's cool. I get it.
Sure.
I thought it was quite fun. It's free exercise for me, right? And one of their iPhones dropped in the water, and they were like, shit. And I was like, oh no, nightmare. And she was like, oh, can you go back and tell the skipper, the captain of the boat? So I went back on to the main boat, and he was like, yeah, just go to the the iStore on the boat. And I literally opened up this cupboard, and like every single Apple device,
a mini Apple store on the boat.
On the boat. Like literally, like it was the most weirdest thing I've ever seen. All wrapped, all still like the cellophane on and like the barcodes, and it was just like, it's just weird, isn't it? Like that level of
Yeah. I mean, it just such as, I imagine, such an extreme difference to so many of the experiences that you were having when you were on tour, and just seeing a very different side to the world.
Yeah. But you know what? They were lovely. I had so much respect. I mean, I respect anyone that's nice and good for the world, right? It's not that simple. It's not like if they're successful, or if that's not how we should gauge people.
Yeah.
Genuinely, are they kind? Are they nice? And that's it, right? Well, there's other factors, but they're the main ones. Yeah.
Good basics.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are they a decent person, or are they trying to kill people? Good people, and they were lovely. And he was self-made. He made all of his own money on Wall Street, and he actually gave a lot of it away as well during COVID. He kind of had this epiphany, and I saw it in the news, and he kind of, like, we're talking like vast amounts of his wealth. He almost did like the minimalistic thing when people like want less. Have you seen that movement that people get into?
Yes.
I mean, my fiance definitely needs that. Our house is just a clutter bomb. So did that, and then he made a lot of his money on Wall Street. So I was like, I want to own a Learjet. I want an Apple store on my boat, right? So I took my trading exams, having no idea of like how it worked or what it is. And by the way, I am like mathematically dyslexic. I am like the shittest person at maths you will ever meet. Like, it's terrible, right? Blame mum. She never made me do my times tables. And but I knocked on the door of all the banks, Goldman Sachs, and all these different banks. Most of them laughed at me and were like, "Get out the lobby." But Citibank were like, "We like your style,
Right?
Not the way I was dressed. Like, we like the way you're kind of like, you seem like a fighter. You're eager.
Yeah.
We'll load you on the grad scheme. If you pass it, you're in." So that was it. Like, I was loaded onto this grad scheme with like loads of literally kids that had just come out of LSE, and like brains that like would read the FT as their like evening read before they would go to sleep.
Wind
right?
down.
Unless you did. You do that? Are you that sort of person?
No,
fine. like talk about bond yields and government sovereign debt, and like it's like they talk about it like it's just the big most passionate thing. I'm sat there going, oh my God, I am so out. I'm like more comfortable with the Taliban than I am like in these kind of weird classrooms, genuinely.
Right. Like it's totally foreign.
Yeah, totally foreign. And like, but worked my ass off and passed it. They all kind of helped. They were like, let's help the SF guy. God, he can't even add up. No, they're joking. It was cool. Made some dear friends. And then traded equities, became a sales trader on the trading floor in London. And I suppose that's where the problems kind of really started with me. Well, I'm constantly having problems, but like going from what I had done, from dad's death to running around Iraq, Afghan, the yacht, the security bit, to suddenly like getting on a night bus from Battersea, like going over that bridge in the winter, getting on the first tube at Sloane Square, you know, that vibe when people are still on that platform, they don't want to be there. And it's just like, what am I doing? And then like gophering, like not even seeing daylight, because you just go straight underground to Canary Wharf.
Yeah.
And then you can
just pop up in the building.
You can just pop up in the building, yeah. And because you're the new guy, you're busy, right? So you can't just pop out and get some air. It doesn't really. Well, you can't. But and then finishing work and going out most nights and drinking too much and substance abuse and just the usual.
Just part of the culture.
Just part of the culture. Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, the substance abuse thing wasn't like part of the culture there. It was just more boozy.
Okay.
But it was just like, it was me. I just kind of exploded / imploded. I just went for it, right? And living in London, that can happen. People do go off the rails.
Totally.
Like, it's like Hong Kong. The amount of people I know that move to Hong Kong and then have to get the hell out of Hong Kong because they just like, they go batshit.
It's too much.
They just go crazy.
Yeah.
Wasn't sleeping. And I think I was at a wedding and my brother came up to me and he was like, dude, you all right? And I was like, why? And he's like, I think a friend of ours called Kirsty was chatting to me and she went up to my brother and was like, Joe's kind of lost his spark. And I was like, it really hit me. Like, you know, I think I was just a zombie.
Totally.
I was totally zombied when I was talking to people. I wasn't actually engaging. Like, and
sometimes it takes someone else saying something
for you to get checked, right? It's the kind of like, what is going on? And it really shook me. And I was like, I think I cried my eyes out to my brother at this wedding, and it was all like, for me, like, oh. Anyway, So I went and kind of sought help and went to speak to someone, went through a kind of therapy process in Harley Street, because that's the only place that I knew. This is like 12 years ago. You know, think of the mental health conversation that COVID has
Totally.
like triple, 1,000% more awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't really tell anyone about it. I didn't really know what was wrong with me. I just felt gassed.
There's no like language for it.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just felt gassed. I just felt absolutely exhausted and I couldn't unpick it. So went through a kind of therapy process and knew I wanted to kind of get out of London and get away from banking and try and just find a balance. So moved to Dubai, and a dear friend of mine owned a big branding agency, and I always loved brand, like psychology, right? It's a psychology thing, isn't it? Why people like certain things, right? Like why the clothes you wear, the same black tees, me you wear, that famous outfit.
What does that say about us?
Exactly, weirdos. I always just found it, I found consumer behavior interesting. I think that kind of drive maybe from my mum being a psychologist, maybe. I don't know. And I also really love the creative side of it, like creating stuff like you've done with this pod and your business. It's like, it's amazing, isn't it? It's so good for the head to create, right?
Very satisfying.
It's super satisfying, yeah. So did that, lived in Dubai and worked with different companies, like startups, tech companies, auto companies, luxury companies, and then moved to Hong Kong and did a Hong Kong stint with them for 2 years, which was wicked. Again, the buzz of Hong Kong, and this was when Hong Kong's slightly gone a bit hardcore now. It's changed a bit, right? Because the government, but I think everyone says that. Everyone that's lived there is like, what year were you there? Was it like when it was really cool? And I'm like, I thought it was cool. No, it wasn't.
It wasn't cool then.
It wasn't the cool days. No, I'm not fun at all. And then Australia, and lived on Bondi Beach and was doing
nice.
and again, like just the culture and the way of life and the well-being and the way different cultures approach it. I think I learned so much when I look back and reflect on it. Like the Hong Kong thing, everyone on the weekend goes hiking and you tend to live in sports kit. Have you done Hong Kong?
I've been once for a weekend. And
a boozy weekend probably.
I felt it was like, because I used to live in New York City, and Hong Kong to me felt like Manhattan on steroids. It was like so,
bonkers, right?
It was like just so much like tall buildings for miles. It wasn't this contained Manhattan. It was everywhere, the whole place. But as you say, it's then on a backdrop of beautiful mountains. Yeah,
it's and like the old airport used to literally land in the middle of the city, right? So it's got this energy, but it's got a really, really good balance of working really hard. Lots of people there are very driven, right, to try and create, or there's the big finance industry there. But then on the weekends, it's super healthy. You're on the boats, you're barbecuing on the beach, and it has this rawness. So it's got like Dubai in the Middle East has this kind of luxury scene that's very polished. Hong Kong has that in a shopping sense, but then it's really raw. So you just sit on the beach and have like a picnic, Yeah. So it's got a really cool vibe. And Sydney, oh my God, in terms of like healthy living, those guys
Next level.
Nailed it. Like they've nailed it. They literally don't work. They like go to work at like, any Australian's going to hate me for saying that. I'm joking, not joking. But they know how to do it. They know they know how to do it. So they'll finish earlier and they'll surf. So I was getting up, I was running along Bondi, the Bronte kind of coastal path that people know. Do you know Oz? Have you done Oz? Fine. So you know that walk?
Yeah,
I'd
totally.
Run that.
Beautiful.
Oh my God. And then literally, you just feel great. And then sea swim, and I'd literally walk back with my clothes in my hand, just wet shorts, and get a coffee like on the way back, just dripping wet.
Yeah. But everyone's doing it, so
everyone's
it's like
doing
totally
it.
normal.
It's totally normal in Oz, isn't it? To walk around like just basically wet with a coffee. Mainly with a coffee or a beer. A stubby.
Either or.
Either or, yeah. But I just, again, it's actually, this is coming to me now as we're talking, but like, I think the amount I learned on those different cultures and people, and I think I learned so much.
Well, just the range of what life can be like.
Yeah.
What life can offer.
Literally from like kicking doors in Kandahar and taking out pretty serious terrorists to like doing marketing pitches in Sydney, like within the space of like 6 years, That's
mad.
It's crazy, right? It's crazy.
Yeah.
And, but good crazy, but really, really good crazy. So left Sydney, came back to the UK, met my lovely fiance, and always wanted to do my own thing, like create my own company, because I've been working with lots of people, helping them create stuff. And I just want to give a massive shout out, actually, because I talk about that person, the owner of the company, the branding agency that I work for. I talk to him about it, but I never give him the big enough shout out and chuck up. He's a guy called John Brash, and he's so talented. He owns a company called Brash, which is still operating. But sometimes it's nice to say thank you to people, isn't it? And I just think that guy did for me and taught me and you know, treated me like family and you know, showed me how to do kind of what I do now, which is amazing. So thank you, John, if you're listening. So wanted to do my own thing and looked at the mental health market, and I was like, super clinical. It feels quite feminine. There's nothing that feels like aspirational, like even some of the big American therapy platforms. It was just like tick a box here if you're depressed. It just felt like an intranet. It was just like, oh, it was like findtherapist.com kind of stuff. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I was like, what? No one's gonna talk about it, right? No one's gonna start talking about having a wobble, right? Or feeling just shitty, right? No one's gonna do it if we always treat it like it's a problem and it's like, go and see the shrink or go and see the doctor.
Right.
Like, and also don't wait until you're broken to go and speak to someone. Now, me and you know, the American market is so far ahead of us in terms of this, right? You service your car, you service everything in life. It needs service. You don't take
but we don't think about that for ourselves.
Although some people don't service their cars today. Some people do wait for their cars to break down.
That is also true.
Yes, there's definitely like that metaphor's slightly weird. But so that was the origins of Halen. I wanted to create something that was aspirational and people proud of working with, you know, and something that was unique to me and my background. And so that was it. So we created Halen, which stands for hero. So it's Old English for hero. And I kind of like phonetically like the name Halen. I think it kind of sounds like Norse and hard, Halen, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm picking up my own brand name now. That's really sad, isn't it? I'm like, I really like the brand name.
As the branding expert,
I know, but I just suddenly checked myself. Knob. Sorry. And so built the platform, built the app, and it's basically an app-based coaching / therapy platform. Okay, so you download the app, you answer a few questions, and then it matches you with our pros. We call them pros, not therapists, and all the pros are ex-military with different skill sets. You know, a couple of them used to be in special forces. I've got one amazing breathwork guy. Well, they're all amazing. Guys, you're all amazing. Okay, there you go. I said it. And with different specialities and different passions. Like some really are much more into the kind of coaching areas of stuff. Some are more into the kind of breathwork, meditation space. But the main common denominator is that every single one of them has been through their own shit, which is why they've gone into that profession, right? And I think that's really powerful, you know, and it's this concept that we all used to serve our country and now we serve you, the communities. We're here to help you, right? And I think that's quite cool.
Still the people of your country.
Yeah. And I think, look, Goggins is amazing, and I'm not knocking him because if I ever see him in a hotel lobby, he's probably going to like do a flying headbutt or something. But I think you need to be careful sometimes with pushing people in an aggressive way that some ex-military style of people do, right? Sometimes they just want a wingman. Like the beauty of a conversation, like me and you just talking, is what people need quite often, right? They just need to sit and be present and talk. So from like a product brand standpoint, we've got all these gnarly, fit ex-military guys that are tattooed up, but they're all so caring. Like the main thing is it's empathy. Like they are there for you, right? It's not like the Hells Angels. We are hardcore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I imagine there's a sense from what you were saying before, that feeling of camaraderie and really being there together with one another, like pulls through into what you're saying in terms of how they approach their work with the people who are coming onto your platform.
Yeah, and just like some of the basic values that you have, that you're taught in the military, things like cheerfulness and the sense of adversity, right? So like when shit is going wrong, and you're having one of those days, right? It's a shocker. To be able to someone to crack a joke and kind of like laugh about it, like it's really important traits and values that I think Halen has, because we naturally do it. The way we talk to each other. Like a Halen board meeting is a nightmare, right? Because everyone just, no, I'm joking. But it's like the patter, the banter.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really beautiful thing to know that these guys will take a bullet for their customers. They're there for them, right? And it's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of it.
Beautiful. And I also love it's called Halen Strength, because I think so often when in the mental health conversation, we often feel like if we're struggling with our mental health, it's a weakness and we want to hide it and not talk about it. So I love, even within the brand and the name, Halen Strength, it is positioning it as this is part of how you are building yourself up and making yourself more resilient, rather than something that you need to feel apologetic for or shameful of.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, down the line, we will get Halen.com, if that makes sense. Like there was a whole
Sure.
the usual stuff.
Yeah.
You guys get it with what you do. But yeah, it's really cool, and it's going really well. So the current model is a pay-as-you-go one-on-one. So you go on the app and you book a session with one of the pros, right? Yeah. But we're going to start to look at a kind of subscription, lower cost option, which are things like online courses or things like the breathwork that we were talking about.
Yeah, cool.
So it's cool, and then proof concept here in the UK, and then hello America. Like we really want to take this, because obviously the power of veteran in America is so strong.
Right.
I mean, they board flights before anyone, and they, the UK is definitely getting better. But I just think it's going to be really gnarly, right? Entering the US and getting some like female ex-Marines involved, and even go into like some meditation stuff, and like just rebrand, Halenify some of the well-being space.
Yeah.
And get people to work on themselves that would never normally do it.
And I think that's the power of having a really strong brand, is it makes topics and practices more accessible to an audience who it might just not have registered with before. And we find that at Rain as well, with our CBD and mushrooms, the power of a brand to turn it into something that people feel attracted to, or just registers with them because they're more aesthetic or brand or lifestyle driven, just makes it so they're open to trying it. And I could definitely see how Halen provides that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because, if we can get like people in Texas, or middle America, like guys, hardcore cowboys, right? If we can get some of those guys like doing some breath work, or even some like meditation, or even coaching or therapy with the different, I mean, that's like, for me, that's the goal, right? That
Totally.
For me is the absolute goal.
Yeah.
And it feels right. I feel like the strategy's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess a question that I have for you is, from your experience in the military, and even from some of your colleagues now, then going into finance, then going into branding, what are some of the main things that you feel like you learned that you're still using as tools in the day-to-day, that I imagine then you're then passing on to your clientele who maybe hasn't served in the military before, but are still getting value from the insights that you all were able to get?
I think like there's multiple tools, right, that we all use all the time, right? But I think if we just go with like the big broad ones, and this is, some listeners might think this is really cliche, but I fundamentally believe in this, and I'm just going to say it's basically you have to follow your gut and do something you're passionate about. Like it sounds really boring and cliche, and like it sounds like someone with rubbish quotes. Follow your heart, follow your passion, but it's freaking true, because if everything's against you and you're having a shit time with work and it's stressful, like if you're really interested and you're passionate, like it's a lot less stressful, right? But it's a true thing. And I think people forget that, and quite often people feel stuck, and all they need is someone to stand next to them and help them, guide them through that door they weren't quite willing to go through, because there's risk and they're worried about it. So that's my absolute number one thing. You have to, right? We get one freaking life on this planet, on this big floating beauty that we're on. You do something that you love. You really, and if people are listening and they're in a job and they're like, well, that's not feasible because I've been in this sector. Well, try and incorporate it make it part of your strategy in whatever department you work in. Be passionate. Like that's one.
Build it into it.
Build it into it.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm not saying everyone should leave their jobs in the city and go and be like yogis. I'm just saying, but just try and think about it and spend the time thinking about how to do that. Second one would be the concept of like having a leveler, so like grounding yourself, right? Whether that's thinking of your children, again, when everything's against you and your stress levels are like, you go and you just want to like it always makes me laugh when you see in offices like people losing their shit over things like printers. I always remember like losing their shit over printers. You remember? And it's like, it's just a fucking printer. I worked with someone in branding who used to work with she was in a big ad agency and she used to work with people like P&G and Unilever. And clients would be screaming down the phone at them and there'd be deadlines missed and yada yada, and these people would be head in hands just like overcooking with stress, and the team leader would be like, it's only washing powder, guys. It's just Ariel. It's only freaking washing powder.
Yeah.
Right? Calm the fuck down. That's my point. Like, you need those moments. And, I've got dear friends that have been really altered through war from injuries. One of our dearest, very, very good friend of ours is quadriplegic. He was shot through the neck in front of me and fully paralyzed.
Wow.
Breathes through a machine. He's an amazingly talented guy called Toby Gutteridge. So please, if you can tag him and check him out and the thing, he's got an incredible charity. But like, everyone goes through dark times. Tobes has been through dark times, but like, people like Tobes can lead the way with positivity and energy. Like, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. So that's what I mean by a leveler, whether it's your own children, your family. So that's a big one. Thirdly, and these aren't in like waiting in order. Let me have a think. It's doing the basics. It's like, it's funny when people are stressed, they tend to fuck themselves up by doing. Sorry, that was a big F-bomb, wasn't it? By doing things like everything that is not good for you when you're stressed. You do. So if people smoke more, they drink more, right?
Yeah.
It's so counterproductive. It makes no sense, does it?
It makes no sense, but also makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But can you dive into that more? Because I imagine you, in your experiences, you've been in some highly stressful situations. Can you give us some examples of like how
this morning on the train?
Yeah.
No. But it's relative.
what do you do in those situations?
So what people need to understand is that we are trained. There's like a fight and flight, right? In the military. And you would hope it's mainly fight. You don't want the guys running away, right? So, but we are trained, and it becomes like automatic the way we operate. When we walk into a room with night vision on, there are no stress levels because you're almost in the flow state. And I'd love to talk about the mushroomy stuff that you guys are doing, which is wicked. But you're in a flow state, and so you just automatically do it. So stress levels. I mean, it's the classic thing of like, what is stress? Stress is actually a good thing. It's just your body literally getting you ready to fight or flight, know? And if you're conscious of that, it's the common thing when people talk about like TED Talks, or you're presenting, or you go on stage, and some of the most successful presenters in the world still feel a bit sick before they go on, right?
Yeah.
But that is your body, like,
doing its job.
Doing its job, right?
Yeah.
So if you can just go, frick, I'm nervous here, or I'm feeling stressed, and just be aware. Like, awareness is everything in life. If you can just be aware, and I think sometimes people don't explain it properly, that, people kind of say, think about how you're feeling, or just be aware of what's going on. And people are like, okay, and what the fuck does that mean? Like,
cool, I'm aware.
Cool, I'm aware.
Yeah.
I'm aware that I'm aware, I think. But just like constantly, if you can, I'm saying not don't constantly because that'd be exhausting, but if you're stressed or you're nervous, just think why. Like, what is going on in your body to do that? And it's a kind of mindfulness technique, right? It will just calm you down. And then there's all the other stuff like the breath work. Like, we had an amazing guy do the breath work course. He's over in the States, and he's had some big meetings this week, really big. And he's got a big role. And he's been doing like a round of breath work before his big meetings, and he said it's just like worked wonders.
Game changing.
Game changing. Yeah, and it does.
Were you doing breath work in the military? Is that something that
No, it wasn't really. I mean, it wasn't really around that. It's been around for thousands of years. Like people in Tibet will be listening to this going, "What a douchebag!" Like we've been, and now it's become this like cool new thing.
Right.
No, but it's learning to breathe, and again, being conscious of your breath is everything. But from a physiological standpoint as well, you know, it's actually trackable. Like Wim Hof's obviously really put it on the global stage, but putting your body into a hypoxic state creates more red blood cells, which kickstarts your body. And you can literally put an oximeter on someone's thumb. So right now, if we put an oximeter, I should have brought them, shouldn't I? I should have done a round of breath on it. If I put it on my thumb here and did one round, okay, like 30 breaths, and then go into retention at the end, I'd probably drop my O2 saturation. You'd see it drop from like 99 to like 60. You'd see it happen that quickly.
And what does that mean?
The amount of oxygen in your blood.
Yeah.
Okay. So by doing breath work and going into a kind of, there's different types of breath work, but I'm talking more of the hypoxic style, which is the rapid, big breaths. You're getting rid of all that CO2, right?
Okay.
CO2 is bad, poisonous, horrible crap. So get out your body. And then big breath in, hold at the top, and then release. Yeah. And then you hold your breath. Then so you retain your breath on the exhale.
Okay.
So
get the CO2 out and then
CO2
hold.
CO2 out. And at that point, if you're watching my O2 blood saturation, it'd be dropping. So the O2 in my body is just dropping and dropping my blood. And when it's, this is being proven, I think it was like Russia were looking at this like 45 years ago, and they were looking at people with like autoimmune conditions, things like arthritis. Yeah. And they were putting them up at altitude into a hypoxic state, right? Yeah. Naturally altitude. Yeah. And then bringing them down, and they were basically almost, I'm not going to say they were curing them, but massively reducing issues. Yeah, really interesting. And so that's kind of the style of breathwork that I'm really into. That's what I do. I put myself into heavy hypoxic states. Okay. And I've suffered from, I like the odd run. I like running certain distances. That sounded really weird, didn't it? I like kind of doing big runs. And I've suffered from runner's knee and really tight. And I'm adamant that breathwork's like cured it. Wow. Nothing else. Haven't seen a physio. And by the way, I've tried that route, right? And I'm talking like to the point when I could hardly run. I'd run a couple of miles and it was agonizing pain. But by sitting there every morning, and I do like 20 minutes or it depends. I think people, again, their morning routines can be a bit too full on. Like they're too strict with them. Right. And the point when you're being that strict,
it causes even more stress.
It's just not fun. It's just a bit, those people that like the 4 a.m. club. Yeah. Like, fine if you want to do it, but like, just, I don't know, it can just be a bit boring. Sometimes I do 1 round, sometimes I do 20 minutes, whatever. But I'm absolutely adamant that it's literally cured some of my like runner's knees and tight hip flexors and stuff just from doing that.
Really interesting. I think a lot of what I've been reading about recently is how so many autoimmune diseases are caused by stress. So whether that's physical stress or mental stress as well. And we've just seen rates of autoimmune disease just skyrocket within Western cultures over the last however many years. But it feels like there's also often a resistance to using kind of natural solutions like breath work. And I imagine, even going back to what you were talking about before, a resistance to this from a certain group of the population, kind of the big, strong guys. And this seems like something that you are really trying to take on and tackle. And I would love if you could dive into that a bit more, looking at this often, I suppose, kind of hyper masculine, which I imagine could also be very present in a military situation as well. But what have you learned about, I guess, bringing these types of ideas, rituals, and practices to an audience who might not feel like it's for them or identify it or be, very resistant to giving it a go?
So we ran a workshop, and it was kind of friends and family, and many couples that came, and a couple of them were like, "What are you dragging me here to?" Like, they that's not their thing. They sit by the fire with a nice bottle of red, log fires, dog walks, country folk. And they're like, what the hell is this mumbo jumbo shit? Right. And it's incredible. And the other thing, or the main thing that's incredible about breath is that every single person within 3 minutes, you can get someone to that buzzy, that everyone feels it. Yeah.
Right.
That every single person will feel it, and they'll have their own experiences, and it'll do different things. But I think, to answer your question, I think awareness is getting greater of this stuff through connectivity, through the beautiful but evil world of social media, and how we're too. But the awareness is getting bigger, and even people like Wim, and people like Chris Hemsworth doing Limitless and that kind of stuff. Like, people are really interested in self-development. I think people are also really into natural ways of doing things, like back to your products that you've got, amazing things. And people don't want to just take like a pharma pill. There's an element of that. I think we've kind of wised up to it.
Yeah.
I think a bit. But with the whole masculinity thing, like, key people, of everyone, well, there's loads of people that fly that flag, I think, but do it on a very, very smart branding level. But it's someone like Tyson Fury. The way Tyson Fury talks around mental health, right? He's so good. He's so authentic. Like, and you genuinely see him having his wobbles.
Right.
Like, if you track some of that stuff, if you see the
I
show,
I haven't actually.
it's amazing. Yeah, you see it. Like, it's he's super hyper, isn't he? Right. Very, very talented. Massive family man. Just so authentic. But when you see him having his kind of like down days and moments, it's like a completely different person, and it just happens like that. Well, I don't know if it just happens like that. I'm putting words into Tyson Fury's mouth. That's crazy, but it feels like that's what happens, right? But when you've got people like Tyson or other very well-known people that basically fly the flag and say, sometimes these things aren't fixable. There isn't a pill that will cure this, right? It's part of you. Kind of embrace it and just learn how to deal with it as best as you can. And also know you're going to have shit days.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the sweet isn't sweet without the sour. Like, it really, if everything was rosy and great, it'd be very boring.
Totally.
Do you know what I think?
You need the ups and downs.
Yeah, you need the ups and downs. You do, though. You really do. It's so important. And I think whether it's a Halen Pro or a friend or your parents or your kids reminding that, it's a really important thing, back to a leveler of reminding people that as well.
Yeah.
Because they know it's just part of the journey. Did that answer your question? I feel I kind of went completely off tangent there. Started talking about loads of other stuff.
That was great. That was great. I mean, even just going back to your last point, kind of circling back to some of the, I guess, tips or guidance that you had before, what I got from that is how important it is to have that both mental and physical connection, or mental and physical resilience, because sometimes when we can get so much into our heads that we forget the power of our bodies and the breath, and being able to be present, and our body being such a amazing tool to help ground us into that. Would love if you can speak to just how all of your past experiences, military, finance, branding, the role that your, I guess, connection to your own mental and physical strength provided for your resiliency.
Yeah, I think like for me personally, I think my father's death like catapulted me, into on my journey, I suppose, on what I've done. I think it made me like laser focused with stuff, right? So like if I say I'm going to do something, I tend to do it, right? But also there's a negative side of that kind of trait. Like, sometimes being too focused and too blinkered, you can be selfish. And I look back in my life, and there's quite a few moments when I've been selfish, like with my own family, and I just put myself first because I'm driven and I want to go,
Yeah.
And I think you reflect, right? And you look back and you kind of, and it's a very like beautiful thing to be that honest with yourself and kind of check yourself and the way you have behaved, and also talk about it, like the way we are now.
Yeah.
But yeah, stress. I mean, the things that I've just said then, I think the most important one is just to stay grounded. Like really just try and stay grounded. And for me, the biggest one is probably my boy, my 11-year-old kid. Because come on, like we come home and we feel stressed. Like who gives a shit, right? It's about this little beautiful thing or things if you have kids. It's about them, and that in itself. I'm so guilty. I'm still guilty of it. We're all guilty of these things. It's not like I'm like a mixture of Jay Shetty and Goggins and all this other stuff. Like I still fuck up daily. Like I won't be. He'll be talking to me, and I'll be semi on my phone or at the dinner table, but you check it, right? You check it. You kind of you check yourself and you refocus. But I think I think it's the big themes that we talked about at the start: the grounding, the have the levelers, the looking after yourself, right down to your small box breathing or your tools, right? It's a mixture of everything. But I genuinely think the bigger stuff is the more important stuff, the more powerful stuff. Okay. Like we can try and get to bed every night at 11 o'clock and we can throw yourself in the ice bath and all that stuff, right? It's cool. But like it needs to be really big. Yeah. It needs to be the big themes of you get one life, you're on this planet, breathe, calm the fuck down, it's going to be cool, you got each other's back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that sound really cliche? Do you know what I'm getting at?
It feels like it's having a certain mindset or a certain perspective seems like the biggest thing that I'm hearing from you is just zooming out a little bit and not getting so sucked in and to your own shenanigans.
I know you were saying that earlier and I was going to say something. How many times in life, right? And I something happened this week. Can't remember me. But how many times, like, do you think someone's pissed off with you? Or do you think someone thinks things and you sweat it? And you sit there kind of going, oh. You know,
like stewing.
Yeah, stewing. Yeah. And it's just like the little chimp in your head is just messing around. Like, literally, just tell him to be quiet. Just kind of go, stop, ground, and move on. We spend so much time worrying about the future and the past. Like, how much time do you think people do? Like, Constantly.
Yeah.
And they're just not present. They're not present. And it's, you're going to think I'm a bit of a saddo here, but there's a director called Richard Curtis who did 4 Weddings. Right?
Yes.
I'm not knocking them. Everyone loves a rom-com. No, that's fine. But he did one film called About Time. And it's a beautiful story about the concept where the family can time travel. And it passes down from his dad to his boy. And it's a bit like Groundhog Day. He learns he can do it and he goes back and starts trying to date the girl he couldn't date and like win money and all this kind of stuff. And he basically figures out, have you seen it, by the way?
No, I haven't.
It's really cool. You'd love it.
Yeah.
And shall I tell you what happens?
Go for it. You've started now. So
otherwise it's like, watch it. He figures out that the most beautifully epic thing he can do is go through the day. And at the end of the day, when he goes to bed, he puts his, and it's all stressful, he goes back to the start of that same day and he lives the same day, but he's completely present. So when he's buying a coffee in Starbucks, of course, he's like really looking at the person, he's smiling, he's looking around them, he's smelling, he's playing with his kids. It's just like a really, really powerful concept to actually be in the room and stop worrying about what you did last night at the pub or a meeting next Monday at work. Just be present.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I got from the story that you were telling earlier of, you know, having your night goggles on and being in a flow state. And what that is so about is just being so present that, you know, there is no future, there's no past, there's only this now moment. And there's no stress in the present moment because just the moment is what it is and that's it.
Amazing, isn't it? How do you personally get in flow? Like, what's your thing? Do you?
I
because you should talk about your product with it as well.
Well, yeah. So we're creating something to help support people get into their flow state because I mean I believe that we have everything that we need just within ourselves. We shouldn't need anything, but the modern world is just piling it on with all of these distractions and doom scrolling and all the news headlines.
Doom scrolling.
And
oh my God.
Just all, you know, getting notifications on your phone constantly. There's It's a big ask for people to just be able to, okay, in a snap, get into your flow state. So sometimes we need help and support. And nature and the earth and the planet that we're on, and we're a part of nature as well, so it offers us tools and support to be able to aid us in getting really present. So we've created a mushroom and adaptogen formula that helps support get your brain into that super present, just like focused, clear state, flow state, to help you to be able to do that. But for me, what I find, if I don't have that and I'm just trying to get present with myself, I also try to just kind of use my breath, kind of use exhales to like let that go, and then also become really aware of my body too. Because I find when I get stressed, my shoulders, you start tensing up.
How funny is that when you suddenly go, like in breath work, quite often we say like relax your jaw, and people go, fuck me, my jaw is really tense.
Oh my gosh, like my tongue is pressing onto the roof of my mouth like so intensely, but we're so unaware of that because it's happening. It's this stress response, but you don't think about it. It's just happening. So as soon as you can become really present, you notice how much tension you're holding within your body. And that's that stress. So as soon as you become present, you can kind of release it and let it go, and even kind of thinking down to your like cellular level, like let go of the tension so deeply and intimately. That's when I feel I can help myself get back into that present moment, that present state.
The fastest, like proven, amazing guy Huberman, you obviously know him. Like the fastest hack, it's not even a hack, it's just the fastest way to try and de-stress is to take one breath in through your nose, but quickly, like that, and then just sigh.
Yes.
And just a sigh,
the sigh
relaxes you.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like from a brain standpoint, it literally does stuff.
Yeah, totally. Okay, well, tell us, what else do we need to know about Halen, about what you have coming up, and what's going on with Halen Strength?
Like healthy global domination. So we're going to basically, we're going to threaten people because we're all quite hard to use our product. No. So we're just doing our seed round at the moment, seed round investment. And we're going to push here in the UK and then look at the US, like I said. So, and start to bring out, like we said, other products. So a subscription, a lower cost subscription product, so people can do live breath work or subscription breath work or meditation or the coaching side of things. No, we're super excited by it. It's back to, but I'm passionate about it anyway. But I had an email this morning from a customer talking just about one of the pros, just how lovely, how much they've helped them, like genuinely helped them through 4 sessions. And that's a wicked thing.
Yeah.
Right? If that's your job, it's a really, really cool thing, isn't it? To help people. So I don't know. To answer the question, like, what does the future hold? I don't know, but I think it's going to be fucking exciting. I don't know. I really want to wrap in a kind of a really cool, powerful social impact thing into the business as well. There's lots of people that can't afford. It's hard out there, right?
Totally.
It's tough out there at the moment. So how we can help people, how we can help nippers, like young kids and stuff. If we can start them building resilience at the younger ages.
Totally.
What we can do. But I think I've got an amazing team. I'm just loving working with. We all get on so well, and everyone's passionate. And like you with your business, it's good.
Amazing.
It's all good.
I feel like when I think about the military and I think about the wellness world, I really don't see the overlap. But through this conversation, I've learned a lot about the importance of, the present moment and how crucial that is to both feeling well, but also to performance, and the importance of presence in order to achieve and move forward and be there with one another. And I guess that's the second thing, presence and kind of camaraderie and community, to not feel like you're alone. And when you're going through such intense, tough times, whether that's, in a very specific dangerous situation, or, in your ad agency and your clients just said something that's turned the project around, the importance of just staying really present and also just not feeling alone and being there and supporting one another within your teams is such a beautiful lesson.
Thank you. I think so. I think and again, I've really enjoyed this chat today because even when I'm talking to you about it, my brain fires and I'm thinking about it in a different way. And back to the importance of the camaraderie in the military is obviously so big, down to branding, and militaries have their own cap badges and colours, and down to language. If you heard two Marines talking, you'd be like, what the hell are they talking?
I would have no idea what you were talking
Honestly,
about.
some of the stuff is weird that we say, but it's all these traits that I'm so proud that Halen is now taking on. The cheerfulness and the sense of adversity, the mass camaraderie, the sweet isn't sweet without the sour, all these kind of things. Yes, I'm happy. I'm a happy man at the moment.
I love to hear it. Okay, what is something that I should have asked you but I didn't ask you about, or one thing that you want to make sure that you get a chance to say before we wrap up?
Oh God, I hate that spot. Right, I think we've covered lots. I would say, I just want to say a massive thank you to my family, as in my mum and my immediate family, if that makes sense. Is that my immediate family? My mum. You know what I'm trying to say. Yeah. My mum and my siblings and my stepdad. Because as I said, I've been pretty selfish in the past, but through my own journey, I've kind of really reflected on that, and I just want to say thank you for being awesome. And also my family, my boy and Jodie, my fiance. I love those guys, and very grateful for our lives.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for speaking with me and talking about your story and everything that you've learned. Great. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Restorative Force podcast. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review and share it with a friend. You can follow us at Rain Wellbeing on Instagram and at TikTok. Thanks so much, and see you next time.